Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Cycles podcast. You're hanging out with me, your girl, Adiambo, Kisumu City. Anyway, my name is Maeve Cheryl, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Cycles podcast. Now, I had an amazing weekend, and I attended a concert, and this concert I attended put me on to, you see, these artists you think are not big, but they have extremely fantastic music. So one of the artists I had the privilege of listening to over the weekend was Winyo. And I think his song has been out for a while, but I just never bothered to actually listen to that song. But this song is called Nyoro. So after hearing, like that time I had it during the concert. Now, during the concert, I was very excited and I was very happy and I was very bubbly. But the moment this song started playing, it's like I fell into a trance. And now the people I was with were like, Maeve, are you okay? I'm just there. I'm just telling them this is how I get when like the music is hitting all the right spots and everything. So when the guy was performing, the music was very spiritual and everything. And then now I went home to listen to the song after. Hey. Now, when I listened to the lyrics of the song, they were very beautiful. The song is beautiful, but it's depressing at the same time. It's in Luo, by the way. Yeah. So what the lyrics basically say is, should I get into that? What the lyrics basically say is, I think it's about a lover. It's about a lover, and I think that he's trying to convince this lover to stay or something. But now, listening to the song, I cried I had a proper inaitwaje ni sad nigawa hapa naikwa sad nigawa session, because I wasn't sad when I was playing the song. Your sadness ilikuja tu after. And then I crowned off the crying session with Thames' No Woman No Cry. It's very funny, but I cried a proper one and I loved it. Anyway, on this episode, I'd like to follow it up with the conversation we had from the previous episode, which is about friendship. And I think I mentioned to you that one of my biggest high school struggles was friendship, and not necessarily high school, because I see my life as it's in blocks. So there's the childhood block, and then there's the teenagehood block, and then there's now adulthood. The adulthood block is very fresh, but I'm liking the experience so far. So I won't lie that I've had a smooth experience with the friendships that I've had with people. The friendships I have had in the past have been mad with like struggles, and then they've been mad with inconsistencies, fights and everything. Not physical fights, or bad fights. It's just a normal fights people who are in relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, have. But I think for a very long time, I've been a person that values friendship a lot. And if there's one prayer point I had for a very long time, was for God to like give me good friends and things like that. But the catch is that when those friendships were coming, I don't think I was in a position, or like my maturity at that time wasn't up there for me to handle like the challenges that came with the friendships and everything. So we start with the first block, which is like the primary block. So the first block, I think my friendships were, I don't think I had genuine friends then. And I can't entirely blame myself, because again, a lot of friendships in schools are a bit transactional. So people are your friends because of something they feel they can get out of it. So in in primary school, the friendships I had were born out of fear. Fear in what sense? Not that I was a bully or what, but I think I had a very strong personality from primary. And this strong personality came about as a result of initial bullying. So when I was younger, in kindergarten, there were girls who were older than me. We used to share the same bus. So these girls were bullies, extreme bullies. But while you are in their good books, you know how bullies are. Like if you're not in their good books, then your life is definitely automatically going to be hell. So for me, initially, I wasn't in their good books. So I used to get the bullying, and it came so hard where you find unafika kwa bus mapema, you book your seat, they remove your bag and everything. So that was my life. I go home and then I cry and everything. So I had to find a way to get into their good books, because that means protection, quote unquote. So I did. And that meant just being a suck up, basically. So whatever they want done, I do it. But then my point of change came when my sister joined primary. And now I had to grow up and I had to now protect her, because in my head I was thinking, if that's a treatment I went through without having someone to have my back, then I needed to definitely be the person my sister could run to in case someone was giving her the same treatment. So when she joined primary is when I decided, apana, I said that I change a word. So my sister joining primary school made me face my bullies. So I was like, apana, there's no way you're going to be treating me like that, nini nini. So I became not like them, but I became tougher. Then now fast forward to I was still in pre-primary. So when I joined primary, I think that tough persona just, because my sister is there, so it just continued, and that's who I became. And then now as we grow, I'm growing tall, I'm growing, like I'm huger than the normal kids, even the boys and everything. So that tough personality carried on through my primary school and everything. So the same thing that I had to do to like make friends with those bullies was the same thing people had to do to make friends with me. And again, not to say that I was a bully, but I was more tougher than usual. Like I was not the normal friendly girl or anything. So I would rarely laugh with people and everything. So people had to make friends with me people enjoyed quote unquote the protection I offered, because again, now I've literally told you that I had to be tough and everything. So that's who I was, like no nonsense and everything. And then that came with being tall and whatever, and also just being academically gifted and everything comes with responsibilities. So you find your class prefect, you find these leadership roles they come to you and everything. So now people had to be my friend because of that. So a lot of my friendships in primary were by virtue of just me being, like I said, for protection, quote unquote. So, and because I was sort of here, I didn't know how to make friendships with these people, because if they talk to me, fine. If they don't talk to me, fine. And now the reality hit me now when I transitioned into high school, because now in high school, it's like you started on a clean slate. Nobody knows you. Nobody even cares about the status, some of the nini that you had in primary and everything. So I had to make friends now afresh. And also by the time I was reaching high school, my perspective, I was growing. Now remember, we've left childhood and now we're in teenagehood. So things are starting to click. I'm starting to see my classmates as peers, not people I am above. I'm people I am on top of. I'm people I'm ruling over, So I made a friend, but then the ghosts from the past didn't leave exactly. So I said ghosts of the past. It sounds so deep, but anyway. That fact that I didn't know how to manage, treat people like friends, vizuri, followed me into high school. So I think they have told you I entered into a trance when Winyo was performing. I used to have episodes where I'd go silent. Right now, I think people call it silent treatment. And I think that's the best term for it. It's silent treatment, which is very immature. Right now, at this age, I see how immature that is. I see how manipulative to some extent that is. I also see how extremely toxic it is. So I'd have trances where I wouldn't talk to people for 3 months and everything, at 3 months, almost 3 weeks, where you're my best friend, but things just happen in my head and I'm like, no, I'm not talking to anybody. So I'm in self-isolation for 3 weeks. Even my desk mate, the most they can get from me is nisonge, nipite and things like that. So my best friend in Form 1, it happened the first time and then she forgave, because usually when such things happen, when people even silent treat you, I think they silent treat you for a while, and then now when their senses come back, they come back to you. And I think that's the same thing I used to do. I'd fall into this trance, not talk to people while I sort things in my head. And usually when people do this, they think it's for the benefit of everyone. But I came to realize that it actually is not. Because you might think being quiet is good for you. Being quiet helps you get into the right frame of mind. Being quiet helps you relax or sijui nini. But to the other person, they're questioning. They're wondering, what did I do? This is my best friend. My best friend is not talking to me for 3 weeks. What am I doing wrong? Do they not want to be my friends anymore? And all those things. But at that time, I wasn't seeing it like that. For me, I was like, Kapana, this is how I do my stuff. This is what happens to me. Me, understand me or leave me. So what this girl did was she was brave enough to write me a letter. She wrote me a letter, because I think that's, if you never wrote letters in high school, I don't know how you're communicating. Letters and sticky notes. That was like the main mode of communication for people most of the time, especially prep, where you don't have to talk, or when whatever you have to say is extremely private and it's pressing and you have to say it. So she wrote me a note and she gave it to me, and she said, she doesn't want to be my friend anymore because she doesn't understand how you can be friends with someone but you can't tell them whatever's going through your mind and whatever you're experiencing, because essentially I think that's the whole point of friendship. Like, you share in the highs and the lows and everything. Right now, when I look at that situation, it's mad props to her, because she knew how to draw a boundary at a very young age when most of us couldn't, or when most of us would barely even. But in that time, I was very immature, that I couldn't understand that whatever I was doing was affecting her, and that she had to walk away for her own sanity. Because again, as I've told you, I was approaching friendship from the point of me. So when she did that, I was hella pissed. I was like, yeah. There's no way you can do this. So I took the L though. I took the L and I relaxed. It didn't hit me at I've lost my friend Kabisa, because we're still in the same class. I can still see her, nini. So bado ijalud. Then a few days later, it becomes real. It becomes apparent that she's not my best friend anymore. I don't have a best friend anymore. So with regard to that, you might think that made me change, but it did not. So fast forward, I made a new friend and everything. But now the catch to this friendship, I think, was one, I hadn't learned my lesson about the silent treatment and everything. And then number two is that I formed a trauma bond when I look at it, because a lot of and I think this is something that we should be honest with ourselves to acknowledge, that a lot of the friendships that we make with people are because we share one thing in common, and one of the things that people can't share in common is trauma. And most of the time, trauma bond relationships form out of a trauma bond they have too many highs and they have too many lows. The highs are very high and the lows are very low. It's almost like a toxic relationship, where when you have good times, you have extremely good times, and when you have bad times, you have extremely bad times. So still, I was approaching friendship in a very dysfunctional way, where now even when I fall into those trances, but the funny thing is, I knew what I wanted. Like, I knew the type of friends I wanted to surround myself with, but it was too late-ish, if I can say that, because people made their friends in Form 1. Me, I lost mine in Form 1, so now we're in Form 2 or Form 3, where I have to now look for like a new community and everything, where it's hard now because everyone has already like established themselves with the people they want and everything. But then, high school ended, and then all those friendships cut off. I think they ended because there was really nothing more to discuss. But I don't think, after high school, if I'm to be honest, is when now like the lesson started to sink in, is where now I sat with myself and just started looking at the patterns, and I sat with myself and started looking at what I could do to now make meaningful friendships. Because if I'm praying for a meaningful friend, I have to first of all be a meaningful friend. So I joined uni, and then I met new people and everything. So it was a complete fresh slate for me. And then I met my current best friend and everything. And I think this is the longest friendship I've had. It's almost we joined uni. It's almost 5 years now. Yeah, it is 5 years of friendship right now, which is something very new to me. So in this friendship is where I learned like some of the key factors that really help to maintain and to even build a friendship. Because a friendship is a relationship like any other. And the mistake that a lot of us make is that we prioritize romantic relationships and neglect our friendships because we don't see any value, or for other reasons. I don't know, all of you have your own specific reasons. So I learned, number one, to communicate, where now those silent treatments are becoming very common, and then and seeing someone who like understood that their boundary is that they can have a friend who is not telling them what's going on with them, you know. And even it's not that they want you to tell them what exactly you're suffering from in that moment. A heads up would do. And I think that's the approach I use now, where if you feel like you're off balance, or if you feel like there's a lot on your plate, just send me like hey, I'm not okay, we can talk some other time. And I think that's very effective, and I think I do that with my friends this time. So it's communication, and it's just not communication, it's also open and honest communication, because you could be communicating but it's sugar-coated with lies, it's sugar-coated with you're hiding stuff. So if umefika point ya kuita mtu your best friend, then this is someone that definitely knows you inside and outside. Let's forget about all the things that could possibly go wrong, but by the time you're calling someone your best friend, there's a certain level that you've reached that no other these other relationships haven't. So the first one is communication, which is open and honest communication. And then the other lesson I have learned in the course of this new friendships, or in the course of now my adulthood, is that friendship requires you to be intentional. See, the way you're intentional with your boyfriend, the way you're intentional with your studies, if at all you're in school, the way you're intentional with making your parent happy and everything, I think that's the same thing that applies to friendships. So if you want to see your friend, you have to make an intentional plan to see them. Just be like, hi, we haven't met for a long time. Let's do lunch. Let's do what? Intentionality. And I do recognize, I do reckon that it is difficult to make time for your friends, especially now that we're all grown and we're all busy. And to some extent, this could also breed like resentment, because you feel your friend doesn't want to see you or what. But again, it just goes back to intentionality. Regardless of how busy you are, there's this quote that says, people make time for what's important. Yeah, that's it. The other third thing I've learned about friendships is that you have to show up. I don't mean to show up 100%, because again, no human being is 100%. So there's some events you'd miss, like something that's very special to your friend. There are probably chances you could miss them for one reason or the other, but you have to make it a point to show up for some of the important things that they go through. It could either be the death of a parent, it could be a baby shower, it could be a wedding, it could be their business, it could be them chasing their dreams and everything. So for you to maintain actual healthy relationships or friendships, you have to make it a point to show up for your friends. That's a third lesson we've learned about friendships and everything. The fifth lesson I've learned about friendships is that you have to pray. You have to pray that you meet people who are aligned with your purpose. You have to make friends. You have to pray to make friends who understand your vision and everything. Because I feel like one of the reasons a lot of people don't thrive, or a lot of the reasons people stay in their comfort zone, is because they are aligned with friends who either just take away from who they are. And then there's this thing they say, when you share your vision with people who don't understand, or you share your vision with people who don't have visions themselves, it takes away from you and things like that. So you have to pray that you surround yourself with people that operate at a similar frequency that you are operating on. And just hope for the best, man, because like all relationships, they could end, because again, friendships could be seasonal. That's also another lesson I've learned, that you could be friends with people, let's say, like I've told you, the different blocks of life. So you had primary, you have high school, you have uni. So you could have been friends with people just because you were in a similar environment. And when these friendships end, it doesn't mean it was a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you've committed a big sin. It doesn't mean you're not lovable. It just means you guys were at a particular stage together, and now you're not. And now you have to step into a new stage of life and a new cycle of life where you have to meet new people and forge new relationships that would either just drive you to where you have to be. So in the event you're losing friends because you're not operating in the same frequency that you were in before, I'd urge you to not feel bad. I mean, it's human to feel bad in the moment, but don't sulk in it, thinking you have a problem, you're not lovable, you're not likable, and all those things. For sure, you're not the problem. It's just life is cycles unfold, seasons end, seasons change, and new seasons begin, and everything. Now, it sounds like I've given you a very deep preach about preach. I'm a sermon. My God, Maeve. I've given you a very deep sermon about friendships, but and also I've discussed it alone because I just wanted to give you perspective, because I think I've been mentioning about my the weird friendships I've had. But on the next episode, we'll have someone else come in to talk about friendships from even a guy's perspective, so we know just how guys operate as well. Because to be honest, outside of my female friendships, I really envy how men relate on their friendship levels. This is not one of those I only make friends with men because men are not dramatic. But to be honest, I feel like as women, we're very intense with regard to anything that we do in our relationships, in our friendships, and it's all dictated by a lot of factors that sometimes are not even within our control. But when I see how my male friends operate together, it's usually from the banter to how they can just chongoa each other and not catch feelings, from how they can not even know each other's names and just continue with the conversations and just be like, hey, good night, bye, after talking to someone they don't know for a while. I think that's something I'd like. We could borrow a leaf from, as females, I think we could borrow a leaf from that, because sometimes it's very difficult to throw banter around with other ladies, because there's a likelihood that one person will either think you're throwing a sub or all those things. But anyway, long story short, I think we need to hear a male's perspective on friendship, and I will make it a point to have a guest on the next episode to talk about the same. Anyway, thank you for listening into this episode. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages at cycles_podcast on Instagram, at Maeve Cheryl on Instagram, or Maeve Cheryl1 on Twitter. Thank you so much. See you on the next episode. Mwah.